OMG.
Check it out then.
Hopefully it'll be easier.
Is it?
Hopefully. I don't know yet.
You don't have to. You don't have Okay, because the only way to use the app, aside from the phone, which you said wasn't very conducive.
More difficult for me than a person to illustrate for the whole, for the class, to use a class, to use a phone or present a tablet.
Oh, I see, because I don't have a tablet, that's why.
Yeah, this will work fine for a person or use if you are checking it yourself. It will work fine on your phone. But for me to use it,
Well, I don't have the
class or giving lecture, I need a larger screen, that's why I need
Okay, but to use the actual word.
to use the actual word
Any
web
browser.
browser. I will walk through the whole process, the registration, how to enter
Okay.
I'm just giving the first week as a chance for people to get the software, to feel
There
comfortable.
was a few people that shared the same concern I did, so if you wouldn't mind just saying that out loud.
Yeah, so anything concerning the software that you're gonna be using for the assignments, we're gonna be discussed in details, how to register, everything, next class. Alright, so I will be giving you the course invitation link, posted up as an announcement that you can register through. I will go through the registration process. I have it as a PowerPoint presentation, but I'm waiting until everybody gets the codes for you to be ready to use it once we discuss it together. Again, the software itself is gonna be accessible. You're gonna be able to answer those assignments on any web browser. So So you don't need to use the applications. The applications are optional, but they will give you a better way to access the information. Alright, so those are illustrations, those are 3D models, they have heavy graphics in them, so it's gonna be laggy a little if you open it through a web browser, because every time you're gonna be moving the skull, for example, or you're moving an organ, you're gonna be now downloading more information. So rather than downloading the whole app one time and use it from the storage of your iPhone or tablet that you're going to be using, it's going to be laggy a little if you use a web browser using those apps. But again, downloading those apps is optional, so you don't have to download the app to answer the assignments. You can answer the assignments without even downloading the apps. Alright, but to access the illustrations that you're going to be using in details, with explanations and all this stuff, you can either download the app or you can access it through a web browser. I would highly recommend you to download it for better experience.
Once you get the code and you put it in your app, you'll still be able to access it through any web browser?
You can access the assignments through any browser. You can access the apps through any browser, but the app will be downloaded on one device.
Okay.
Right? You can still access it through the web browser if you did download it on your phone. And I don't have this phone anymore. I need to open the app on my home computer, or I'm using my brother's laptop, whatever. So you can still access the app through the web browser. Alright? Again, I will go through the slides. I take picture of everything that you're gonna go through with the details. I will be spending like 10 minutes at the beginning of next class going through this presentation with you. Alright? So don't worry about the software. The only thing that I need you to do is to get it for next presentation. Good afternoon, how are you doing today? Alright, so if you remember last time we did start our discussion for the cardiac system. We did discuss different parts of the heart. Remember how many chambers of the heart that we have? Four chambers. We have two small walls that will be receiving the blood from our line. Atria. So we're gonna have the right atrium, left atrium. And we have two big chambers that will be pumping the blood out of the heart. Those are right ventricles, and we then have right ventricle and left ventricle. Remember, the blood will be drained from all your organs into three major veins. And remember, what's the definition of a vein? What is a vein? It's a vessel that will be moving the blood towards the heart. So I will be draining all the deoxygenated blood coming from every single organ of my body back to my heart through three main veins. Those are mine: superior vena cava
And
inferior vena cava, and the one that brings the heart itself. This is my coronary section. All three will bring the deoxygenated blood into what chamber? Right. Remember, what's going to happen next? The blood will flow down from the right atrium to the right ventricle. And then once the ventricle contracts, this blood will be ejected out of my right ventricle, passing through the pulmonary trunk, which is a short artery that will then divide into right and left pulmonary arteries. Why is it an artery? Because simply I am moving the blood away from the heart. Pulmonary means related to lungs. So I'm going to the lungs, and what's going to happen in my lungs? Oxygen will pass from a high pressure within my air sacs to the low pressure within the deoxygenated blood. Now the blood is becoming oxygenated. The oxygenated blood now is going to be drained out of my lungs. Remember what are the vessels that will drain the blood out of your lungs. Those are your pulmonary veins. Again, why isn't it vein? Doesn't it have oxygenated blood? It's not. It doesn't matter whether it's oxygenated or not. What matters for me is the direction of the flow. Are you moving towards the heart or away from the heart? If I'm moving towards the heart, this is vein. So those are veins draining my lungs. So those are my pulmonary veins. So you've got oxygenated blood now, drained into your left atrium. Left atrium will allow the blood to move down to the left ventricle, will be pumped out from the left ventricle into the largest artery here of your body. This could be aorta. And the aorta, as we're going to learn in the next chapter, is going to give many branches. Actually, it will give all the arteries delivering the blood to your organs. All branches coming from the aorta. As the blood gets delivered to the different organs, let's say an organ here, whatever organ you choose, let's say I'm going to the brain. Alright, so you got the oxygenated blood to the brain, and the brain will be consuming the oxygen, and the blood moving out of my brain is going to be deoxygenated. It's going to be drained. Is the brain above or below the diaphragm? What do you think? Above the diaphragm. So it's going to be drained through which one of superior vena? So the brain shouldn't be here. It should be up here, right? I don't have much space above. Alright, so above the diaphragm, it's going to be drained through superior vena cava. Below, anything below the diaphragm, abdomen, pelvis, lower limbs, all will be drained through inferior vena cava. Again, another cycle will take place, and so on. But remember, we don't wait. The right ventricle pump to the lungs to get back to the left atrium for the left ventricle to contract. Actually, we have two pumps in the same time taking place. My atria, both atria will contract in the same time, right and left, pushing the blood down from the right and left atria to the right and left ventricle. And then my right and left ventricles will contract in the same time. So right and left ventricles will contract in the same time, pushing the blood out into the aorta and pulmonary trunk in the same time. So I have two pumps here. I have the atria contracting one time, and then followed by the ventricles. Both ventricles are contracting at the same time. Both atria are contracting in the same time. Alright, we don't wait until the right ventricle contracts to get the blood, and then the left ventricle will be contracting later on. No, actually, right and left will contract in the same time. Remember, what did we have between the cardiac muscle cells? Gas junctions. Remember, the cardiac muscle cells are all connected together by gap junctions, which will allow them to contract in the same time, allowing the heart to act as one unit. We're going to get to the details in a second. Remember what we mentioned back about the differences between the skeletal muscle contraction and the cardiac muscle contraction. We mentioned that skeletal muscle is under voluntary control. We did initiate an electrical impulse in the primary motor cortex that will travel down through the spinal cord and then get out through the lower motor neuron to reach your muscle. And remember, what allows you to contract is the release of calcium, of intracellular calcium, due to the presence of an electrical signal. And remember, this calcium will bind to the troponin, moving away the tropomyosin. It's going to expose the binding sites of the areas of units. Myosin will form of cross bridges, bind, bend, detach, bind, bend, detach, bind, bend, detach, allowing the sliding of the filaments. And this will cause the shortening of the length of my sarcomere, allowing the shrinkage of the muscle cells. the same exact concept as we mentioned. It's gonna be the cardiac muscle contraction, with few exceptions. First exception is that cardiac muscle cells have spontaneous contraction. They don't wait for a signal for them to contract. This is the first thing. The other thing is that 1% of the cardiac muscle cells will have automaticity. Auto means self. I am self-excitable. I will generate my own electrical activity. Electrical signals. I don't have to wait for an electrical impulse to come from the brain or to come from outside to start the cardiac muscle contraction. I will generate my own electrical impulses. I have automaticity. Meaning 1% of the cardiac muscle cells will have automaticity. So let's check here. The electrical changes and the conduction system that will be taking place in the heart. So starting here, the first part of the heart that has automaticity is going to be located at the entrance of the superior vena cava into my right ear. And this is called my SA node, sinoatrial node. The rate of depolarization of the SA node is going to be here 75 times per minute. What this means? Can you remind me what is meant by depolarization? What's depolarization? You remember back from the nervous system? Do they have a nerve fiber? Like this. And we are willing to create a signal to travel through this fiber. How do we create this electrical signal? Remember, electrical signal is a flip of a charge. What this means? Normally, inside of the cells is going to be more negatively charged. Without having any signal transmission through the fiber, we're going to call this state is my resting membrane potential. In order to send the signal, what I need to do to flip the charge inside to become more positive, and the outside will become more negatively charged. And in order to conduct this signal, what did we do? We did open, if you remember, channels to allow a major cation, extracellular cation, to pass to the inside of the cell. And what ion did we allow to pass inside the cell for the inside to become more positively charged? It was my sodium. What we've learned back with the nerve, that whenever I have a stimulus, this stimulus will enhance the opening of sodium channels, allowing the sodium to flow to the inside of the cell. And as I gain positively charged ions to the inside of the cell, the inside will become more positively charged compared to the outside, which will become more negatively charged. And we call this state in which I have lost my polarity, this is my depolarization. So depolarization, you've lost the polarity, like composition and decomposition. So whenever I lose my resting polarity, I am depolarized. Can I remain depolarized? No. I have to return back to my polarized state. But I need to do it fast. So what is the fastest way that we did rely on to return back to the polarized state is to close sodium and open potassium channel. And when I open potassium is positively charged. And as it is present at a high concentration within your cells, potassium will flow from high concentration inside the cell to low concentration outside of the cell. So potassium now will flow to the outside of the cell. And as I lose positive ions, what's going to happen to the inside of the cell? It's going to become negative another time. I will be repolarized. Repolarized, you return to the polarized state. So you first start with polarized, you depolarize, you flip the charge, you've lost the polarity, and then you repolarize. I get back to the polarized state. So inside will return back to be negatively charged compared to the outside, which will become more positively charged. This is a quick overview of what we mentioned back with the nerve about what is the difference between depolarization and repolarization. So when I say that the first part of the heart that has automaticity, it can depolarize 75 times per minute on average. This means what? That I will depolarize, repolarize, depolarize, repolarize, depolarize, repolarize 75 times per minute. So I will allow sodium in, close the sodium, allow potassium out, close the potassium, allow sodium in, close the sodium, potassium out, sodium in, potassium out, sodium in, 75 times per minute. I'm sending out 75 signals per minute. This is my first part that has the ability to generate its own electrical impulses. Again, what did we call this part? At the entrance of the superior vena cava in the right atrium, this is mine as a node, sinoatrial node. Another part that has automaticity, this is called my AV node. AV node. It's going to be located between the atria and the right atrium and the right ventricle. That's why I call it AV node. AV node, atrioventricular node. Atrioventricular node. And this node can depolarize at a slower rate. It can depolarize 50 times per minute. This is again AV node. The third part of the heart that can depolarize on its own has automaticity. Those will be my Purkinje fibers. And the Purkinje fibers are going to be conducting the impulses directly to the cardiac muscle cells of the ventricles. Those are my Purkinje fibers. And those can depolarize 30 times per minute. So look it on here. Which one will I follow? So will I follow the SA node? Will I follow the AV node? Will I follow the Purkinje fibers? Which one should I follow? They are depolarizing at different rates. So each depolarization means what for a muscle? Every signal means what for a muscle? It will respond by contracting. So what I mean by 75 depolarizations per minute, that the heart, if follows the SI node, it will contract how many times? 75 contractions per minute. If it follows the AV node, it will contract how many times? 50 times per minute. If it follows the Purkinje fibers, it's going to contract 30 times per minute. So which one should my heart follow? SA node, AV node, Purkinje fiber,
SA node.
or I will take the average of all the three.
SA node.
Rule to keep in your mind, your heart will always follow the fastest node. Whatever this node is, even if it is pathological node. So if part of my heart gets crazy and starts to depolarize at 180 depolarizations per minute, so your heart will follow which one? The fastest node. This is what we're going to call the ectopic focus outside. So again, your heart will follow which node? The fastest node. When physiologically, normally, which one is the fastest node?
The SA node.
So what's going to happen when you depolarize? When you have a totally normal heart, how do you conduct the electrical impulses? So you see on here, your electrical impulses can be generated from the SA node. Here. This electrical impulse should pass freely to all the cardiac muscle cells, right? Yes or no? Yes. Why will it pass freely to all the cardiac muscle cells? Simply because we have gap junctions. So this electrical transmission is supposed to pass to all the cells in the same time. But actually this is not what's going to happen. Why? Because simply the only pathway for those impulses to travel from the atria down to the ventricles is going to be through my, what did we call this node? AV node. An AV node has less gap junctions. I have less gap junctions than the rest of the heart. So what's going to happen to the speed of the electrical transmission as I have less gap junctions in the AV node? It will slow down. And this will cause some time delay. All right, of 0.1 second. What's going to happen next? The electrical impulses will be able to travel from the AV node to a bundle that will be connecting the atria to the ventricles, and we're going to call this bundle my AV bundle. So again, normal pacemaker. Pacemaker means the node that's going to be responsible for the heart rate. So the normal pacemaker here is going to be my SA node. The SA node will depolarize. The electrical impulses will be reaching all the cardiac muscle cells of both atria in the same time, but will not be able to travel down from the atria to the ventricles in the same time because you're going to have some time delay in the AV node. Why would you have this time delay in the AV node? Because you're going to have less gap junctions. The electrical impulses will travel down from the AV node to the AV bundle, and then the AV bundle will divide into two branches. And we're going to call those on my right and left bundle branches. Those bundle branches, once they reach the apex, they will be to the third type of pacemakers. Those are going to be my Purkinje fibers. So the electrical impulse will be reaching the ventricular cells, starting from the apex and moving like this. So now, the electrical impulse did reach all the cardiac muscle cells of my ventricles. So again, what is going on in here? So normally, the normal pacemaker, the normal node that creates your electrical impulse that your heart will follow is going to be the SA node. SA node depolarizes at a rate of 75 times per minute. Those electrical impulses, what I mean by an electrical impulse again, flip of a charge, allowing sodium in, potassium out, sodium in, potassium out. This electrical impulse will travel to both atria at the same time, but it will be delayed as it passes through my AV node. I have some time delay in the AV node because the AV node has less gap junction. What's going to happen next? Electrical impulses will pass from the AV node to the AV bundle, and then the bundle will divide into two branches. Those are my right and left bundle branches. Bundle branches will conduct the electrical impulses to the Purkinje fibers, which will transmit now the electrical impulses to the cells in my ventricle. So now both ventricles gonna be getting the electrical impulse in the same time, and they will act as one unit. So you're gonna have two contractile units here. The atria will contract because they will be depolarized first, and then the ventricles will contract next. So you have boom, 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 75 times a minute. If you're running 140 times a minute, 120 times a minute. All right? So will you contract both atria and ventricles at the same time? No. Why? Is it something good or bad to have a delay in the conduction?
It's good.
So most of the people think any delay is bad. Right? No, this is a good one. Right? So why is it good? Because if you simply contract atria and ventricles at the same time, the blood has nowhere to go. You need first to contract the atria to allow the blood to flow from the atria, remaining part of the blood to flow from the atria to the ventricles, and then contract your ventricles. So you see on here, this time delay is beneficial. It's not bad. I need to contract both atria at the same time first, and then to be followed by ventricular contraction. Questions?
So when some people have like abnormal heart rates, is it because there's a problem with the SA node?
So you see on here, if for example I have anxiety or I am drinking lots of caffeine, smoking many cigarettes, what's going to happen? This will be lowering down the threshold for the SA node. So it's going to be more excitable. So remember, what makes you create a depolarization? You need to reach a threshold stimulus first. So making you more sensitive means you lower down the threshold. Right? So my heart rate will become faster. It's like the same way when you run. Why my heart rate will become faster? Because simply your sympathetic nervous system will reduce your stress. All right? Opening more sodium channels, make it easier for your for your SA node to depolarize. So the faster you depolarize, the faster your heart rate will be. Question?
Could you explain the process one more time?
The pathway?
Yes, on that one, the last one.
All right.
Yes.
start here.
Yes.
Start here from the SA node.
SA node, yes.
We mentioned all the cardiac muscle cells are going to be connected together, right? So, and as they are all connected together by gap junctions, the electrical impulse will travel freely to all the cells. So they will be activated in the same time. See on here? So all the cardiac muscle cells of the atria are connected together. There is no barrier. So they will get the electrical impulse generated from the SA node all in the same time. So all the muscle cells of the atria will get the electrical impulse in the same time. And part of the atria is going to be your AV node. This is a muscle. But the problem here with the AV node, or it's not a problem actually, one of the characteristics of the AV node that is going to have less gap junction. So I will have a reduction in the speed of the transmission of the electrical impulse. So it takes me more time to travel here at this point. And this point is the only junction between the atria and the ventricles. This is the only path for the electricity to travel from the atria to the ventricles. And then as it passes through the AV node, you're going to have some delay. And then it will get to the ventricles passing through bundle, branches, and Purkinje fibers. So now, all the cardiac muscle cells of the ventricles are going to be depolarized. All right, does this make sense now? Yes. All right, so is there any difference between the action potential of the nerve and skeletal muscles that we've seen back in AP1 and the action potential of the cardiac muscle cells? A very important and major difference. This is the only thing that I will need you to add to your notes. Everything else is going to be on your notes. All right? So remember together, let's start with a resting membrane potential in the nerve, which is negative 70 millivolts. Remember? Yeah. And then the inside of the cell. I will give you enough time to write it down. Just pay attention. All right? So we start at negative 70 millivolts. You can remember this. We didn't have it on your final last semester. Resting membrane potential for the nerve was negative 70 millivolts. Remember, inside of the nerve is negatively charged in resting conditions. And then, when you allow the sodium in, what's going to happen? It's going to become more positive. So you're going to go up. And we've called this phase, this is my depolarization.
Oh.
And then I will reach a certain amplitude. At this point, you're going to close sodium channels and open potassium channels, allowing the potassium to travel out. And as you allow the potassium to move out of the cells will become more negative. So you're going to be going back to your resting membrane potential, right? This is what we've called my repolarization. Again, I'm not mentioning anything new yet. But if you remember, even after reaching the resting membrane potential, your potassium channels are going to be leaking potassium outside. So you're going to be even more negatively charged than your resting membrane potential. And we've called this phase, if you remember, in the action potential, this was like hyperpolarization. So we've seen 4 phases of the action potential with the nerve. We've seen resting membrane potential, depolarization and repolarization, and finally hyperpolarization. If you remember, we did have 2 periods of time in which the excitability of the nerve fiber is going to be affected. Remember, if I got So you've got the stimulus, the first stimulus on here. So you will respond by depolarizing, repolarizing, and hyperpolarizing. What if I got another stimulus? How would I respond? Will I respond or not? It's according. When did you get it? If you got the second stimulus, remember, here, would you respond? Would you respond here? Would you respond here? Which one will you respond to, and according to what? If you remember, we did mention that there is a period of time that you will not be responding to any stimulus. And we've called this period my absolute refractory period. And this did take all the depolarization and most of the repolarization. So all this period here is my absolute refractory period. Whatever the strength of the stimulus that you're going to be receiving at this time, this nerve will not respond. Absolute refractory period. And we've seen another period in which you need a stronger stimulus to respond, and we've called this refractory period, it's a relative refractory period. It's according to the strength, whether I will respond or neglect. And this will take the latest part of the repolarization phase and the hyperpolarization, and we've called this relative refractory period. Again, what is absolute refractory period? This is the period that you will not respond to any kind of stimulation, whatever the strength of the stimulus. What is the relative refractory period? This is the period of time that you're going to be responding to a stimulus stronger than the threshold stimulation. If I got the threshold stimulus, I will not respond during the relative refractory period. I need strong stimulation to respond. This is what we've learned back with the nerve. It's gonna be different in my heart. How is it different? Let me also remind you of something we've discussed back with the skeletal muscle. If I've got stimulus to the skeletal muscle will respond by contracting, right? So you've got one stimulus, it responds by contraction and then relaxation. We call this a muscle twitch. You have an increase in tension and then you have a reduction in the tension. You've got another stimulus, muscle will respond by contracting and then relaxing. Stimulus, contract, relax. Contract, relax. If you remember, one of the factors that was affecting the strength of the muscle contraction was the frequency of stimulation. So if I've got many electrical impulses reaching my muscle, what's going to happen? Before I complete the relaxation, if I got another stimulus, I will get a stronger muscle contraction, like this. Right? You remember something like this? And before allowing a full relaxation, you've got another stimulus, so the next contraction is going to be stronger. So the higher the frequency of stimulation, the stronger the muscle contraction. And if you remember, if I've given a very rapid stimulation, this is my muscle, you've got very rapid stimulation towards the muscle, what's going to happen to this muscle? I will be performing a maximal continuous contraction, as you're going to be receiving very rapid stimulations. Like what? Like your back muscles now. Your back muscles are continuously contracting. Why? Because you're going to get a lot of electrical impulses at a very fast rate. You perform continuous contraction. Alright? So, keeping this in the back of your mind, let's look at how the heart is going to be different between the nerve and skeletal muscle. Remember the three words we've mentioned last time at the end of class? And repolarize to relax to reload. And you, the opposite would be depolarize to contract to eject the blood. So when you depolarize, you're gonna contract. So you see on here, the cardiac muscle cell is going to be at the resting membrane potential. Of negative 95 millivolts. So it's going to be more negative than the nerve. Nerve was negative 70 millivolts. As I get the stimulus, actually, the stimulus is going to be created by another part of the heart itself, which is going to be the SI node movement. So the stimulus here is the electrical impulse that you're getting from the SI node. Once I receive this electrical impulse from the SI node, I will start to become depolarized as a regular muscle cell of the heart, allowing an ion to travel to the inside of the cell. Inside is negatively charged, outside is positively charged in resting potential. So I'm allowing a positively charged ion to travel to the inside. It's going to be the same like what we've seen in the nerve. So it's going to be sodium. Sodium will travel in. So now the membrane is going to be more positively charged. And we call this is depolarization. Any difficulty? The same like what we mentioned before. When I reach the maximum of the action potential, at this point you're going to close sodium channels and you're going to open potassium channels. Same like what we've seen so far in the nerve. So allowing potassium out. But if I did repolarize now, I have a very short period of time, you see here, which is my absolute refractive period. It's too short. So if I did receive another stimulus, what's going to happen? I will immediately after the absolute refractive period, if I did receive another electrical signal, what's going to happen? You're going to create another action potential, right? I know it's complicated a little. Don't give up. All right. Stop me here. It gets too complicated for me to repeat. All right. So again, at this point, what we mentioned? We mentioned that the heart will be negatively charged during resting conditions. You're allowing the sodium in. It's going to become depolarized. And as you depolarize, you're going to reach a maximum depolarization, and this will stop the sodium influx. And now I will allow the potassium out. The same like what we did with the nerve. And as you see here, if I did complete the repolarization, it's a very brief period that I will not respond in, which is my absolute refractory period. It's very short. So if I got another stimulus, if I'm running, for example, my SI node is so active. So what's going to happen? You're going to get another stimulus, and another stimulus, and another stimulus, and another stimulus. So what's going to happen if you get so rapid stimulation to the muscle? If I got so rapid stimulation to the muscle, what's going to happen?
Spasm.
Spasm. I will have a continuous contraction. Do you want this to take place in your heart? Do you want your heart to be in a spasm? It contracts because you're receiving so rapid stimulations. You're gonna keep contracting, like your back muscles.
It'll give you a heart attack.
You don't want this to take place. That's why I need to increase the time in which I'm not responding to any stimulation. I need to increase the absolute refractory period. I need to elongate the time for repolarization. I need to increase the time in which I am relaxing. So if the potassium is moving out and I want to reduce the speed of the repolarization, I don't want to be repolarized immediately. What do you think I need to do? If I want to have a line like this, what is a line, a parallel line to the x-axis on a graph means for you? It's constant, no change. So I have a constant voltage and the time is passing. I have the same voltage. So if I'm telling you that you are allowing the potassium to move to the outside, what you're going to need to do in order to keep the voltage the same. If I'm losing a positively charged ion to the outside, I need in the same time to gain another positively charged ion for the voltage to remain the same. So what ion would I rely on here to create this phase of the action potential is going to be my calcium. So why do you need calcium in your cardiac muscle cells? To keep the voltage the same during this phase that we're going to call the plateau phase. And then, what's going to happen next? You close the calcium, you don't need it anymore, and you're going to allow the remaining potassium to move to the outside, completing the repolarization phase. So what happened in here? What happens to the time you take for you to repolarize? What happened for me to repolarize? Did I take more or less time if I compare it to an action potential of a nerve like this? This is the time of repolarization for the nerve. This is the time for the repolarization of my cardiac muscle cell. What happens to the repolarization time? Increases. And what happens to the absolute refractory period? Increases. And why is it so essential? So we've learned why is it so essential to increase the period of the absolute refractory period. Why is it so essential? For you to not have a continuous contraction of your heart. And the other thing, why do I need to increase the time for the relaxation? Because you do what when you relax, you refill. And if you didn't relax, would you be able to refill? And if you were not able to refill, would you have something to pump on the next beat? Because where do you get the blood from? You get it from the relaxation. So when you relax, you increase the volume and you reduce the pressure for you to fill with blood. And this blood that you're going to be filled with is going to be pumped on the next beat. If I didn't have time to relax, I have nothing to pump on the next beat. And this is the problem. If I have ventricular fibrillation, my ventricles are contracted so fast, you're contracting so fast, but you don't relax. So you have nothing to pump. Alright? What we should know for the exam out of all of this. Plateau, what is the ion responsible for it? It's going to be calcium. Why do we have a plateau phase in the cardiac muscle cells? To increase absolute refractory period. Those are the two words that you need to know. Alright? But I did need to go through all of this for them to make sense. Questions?
To increase the calcium base to increase the absolute refractory.
So you allow the calcium in while you're moving potassium out. So if I'm telling you, I'm spending $1, I do have $10 in my pocket, I'm spending $1 every day. How to keep the amount of dollars in my pocket the same? If I'm spending $1 every day, I need to gain $1 every day to keep the amount in my pocket constant. So the same here. If I'm losing positive charges out, and I want it to remain constant, I want the voltage to remain constant, I need to gain another positive charge ion. And as there is no decrease, you see here, in order for you to repolarize, you need to go down. If it remains constant, you are increasing the time that you're taking to repolarize. And this is the time where you relapse. Alright? Is this better now, or I didn't answer a different question? Alright, so lower base meter again is your SA node. It depolarizes at what rate? 75 times per minute. 75 times per minute. It's gonna be the normal pacemaker simply because it is the fastest node normally present in your home. AV node has a smaller diameter, it has fewer gap junctions, which will cause a delay in the electrical conduction from the atria to the ventricles of how long? 0.1 second. It depolarizes at a rate of 50 times per minute. 50 depolarizations per minute. Why you just simply don't have one node? Why would I have another node that I'm not using?
One goes out, you have one more.
Exactly. It's a background. So if for any reason I have disturbance, I didn't have disturbance as a function of the SA node, will I die? No, every node will take over. So if I've got a myocardial infarction, I did block this part. It's dead now. You don't have this node anymore. Will my heart stop beating? No. It will follow AV node. But what's going to happen to my heart rate is going to be faster or slower? Slower.
But will the signals from the SA node be able to get to the
We don't have SA node anymore in this case. If the AV node is taking over. So at this point we're gonna see this in a minute. Alright? We're gonna see the details in a minute. Alright? You're saying how the atria and the ventricles will become depolarized. Right?
Right, well if there was damage to the AV node, how would the signal be able to get to the ventricles?
This is another. So we're saying that the SA node is damaged. So the AV node will take over.
Right, and in the opposite situation.
In an opposite situation, if the AV node is damaged, this is what we're gonna call a block, heart block. Alright, so there would be, the ventricle is gonna be following the Purkinje fibers. If no electrical impulses gonna be able to pass, if no electrical impulses are passing down. Alright, this is a 3rd degree heart block. Alright, in this case only, you're going to be following Purkinje fiber, which will be located inside the ventricle. And we're going to learn more about this when we discuss the AV. Alright? So what's going to happen next? Electrical impulses are passing down from the AV node to the AV bundle. AV bundle will divide into right and left bundle branches. Right and left bundle branches going to be conducting the electrical impulses to the Purkinje fibers that will go into the apex and will reach out all the target muscle cells of the ventricles for all of them to be depolarized in the same time. What do you think? Do we need to have any nerves going to the heart? You think you need any nerves, or you have automaticity? I don't need any nerves. I need nerves to go to my heart. I don't need nerves. What is a nerve? What do you think? So we mentioned that I have automaticity. 1% have automaticity. As you know, is generating its own depolarization. Do I need a nerve?
No.
That other 99%.
The other 99 will be activated here from the electrical impulses. So I'm not creating electrical impulse for myself, I'm creating for the rest of the heart. So the electrical impulses that will travel to the atria, the rest of the atria and the ventricles are coming from SNO. So yes, 1% generates electrical impulses, but the 99 will follow. Alright? The 99, all the heart. Alright? So, what do you think? Do I need nerves? No. Yes? No? It's yes and no. Alright, how? You don't need nerves to initiate a contraction, but you need nerves to regulate. Alright? So I don't need nerves to initiate a muscle contraction like I do for my skeletal muscles. So I am self-excitable. I generate my own electrical impulse. I can contract on my own. So if you take out the heart, you disconnect any nerves from the heart will still gonna be pumping blood, contract. It generates its own electrical impulses. But why do I need nerves to regulate the heart rate and the force of contraction? And what part of the nervous system, can you remind me, is going to be responsible for regulating the heart rate and force of contraction? Mind. First, is it motor or sensory? Motor. Is it somatic or visceral?
Somatic.
I'm going to the heart. Is it something inside or not? Inside, so it's going to be visceral. And what did we call the visceral motor nervous system? It's called autonomic nervous system. Autonomic. Autonomic. So, what are the two divisions of the autonomic? Can you remind me? Sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic, if you remember, I am releasing norepinephrine. And the norepinephrine here is going to be increasing my heart rate. And how do I increase the heart rate? You open sodium channels. You depolarize faster. When you open more sodium channels, you have a faster rate of depolarization. So this will increase your heart rate. You see on here, parasympathetic is going to be releasing acetylcholine. And if I want to slow down the heart rate, you need to hyperpolarize or depolarize. Do you need to open sodium or you open potassium? You make the membrane more negative or more positive. What do you think?
Make it more
I
positive.
need to make it more
Positive.
If I want my heart to contract at a slower rate, move here. So this is, let's say, this is my resting membrane potential. Do you want to start from here, or do you want to start from here? If you want to take more time for this to take place, you need to hyperpolarize to be more negative. And how will you become more negative when you open, when you lose potassium to the outside? And again. So you see on here. Let's say start 95 minus negative 95, and then like this. Alright? If I am activating sympathetic, so sympathetic, what I do, so this is the time I take for one action potential. Sympathetic will move you up in here. So rather than spending time to go up like this, you're gonna start directly from here. So you start from here, go here, like this. So you see here, I have more time that I can use for another contract. So you start from here, you go up, down, start from here, up, down, up, down, up, down. As you take less time for each action potential to be created, this means you're gonna create more actions potentials per time. Right, to simplify. If I told you I am producing 10 pens per minute, all right? But I get another tool to help me produce pens, and now, so let's say, so 60 pens per minute. All right, 60 pens per minute. So how many pens do I produce per second? 1. So now I get a tool that will help me. So each pen will take me 30 seconds to be produced. So how many pens will I produce in with the same minute? In the same minute, you're going to be producing 2 per second, means 120. Yes or no? All right. So again, 1 pen per second. This is a normal time for the production of a pen. So how many pens per minute? 60 pens per minute. Now I am working harder. So I will be producing 2 pens per second. So this means I will be producing how many pens per minute? 120. 120. The same for my heart. Alright, so each second I am producing an action potential. Rather than spending 1 second to produce an action potential, now under the effect of sympathetic, I'm going to be producing 2 actions potentials per second. So what's going to happen to your heart rate? You're going to have 2 per second rather than 1 per second. So you're going to have 120 beats per minute rather than 60 beats per minute. How would you do this? Because you did reduce the time you're taking to go up. You see on here? Rather than going all the way up from negative 95, you're going to make it less negative on the inside. This is under effect of sympathetic. You're moving sodium out. And as you move sodium out, as you open sodium channels, you're going to be moving sodium in, and the inside will become more positive, so you're going to take less time for you to create 1 action potential. So rather than creating 1 action potential per second, you're going to create 2. The exact opposite if we're dealing with parasympathetic. So if I am not working hard and I am so tired, so what will I do? I will be producing 1 pen each 2 seconds. So how many pens will I be producing per minute? 30 pens per minute. Same concept under the effect of parasympathetic. Parasympathetic will slow me down, opening potassium channels. Rather than starting from negative 95, we're going to start with a more negatively potential. So you're going to take more time first to get to the resting membrane and then to start your action potential. So as I slow down the ST node, I will take more time for each action potential, and as I need more time for each action potential, less action potentials will be created per minute. And this is what we call heart rate. So you're going to be speeding up by opening again what channels? Sodium. And you're going to slow down by opening potassium. All right? Questions?
When you open sodium channels, sodium is coming in, but when you open potassium, potassium is leaving.
Going out, yes. Because you know, here normally the potassium, it has a very high concentration on the inside, and the sodium has a very high concentration on the outside. So whenever I open sodium, sodium will directly move to the inside from high concentration to low concentration. And once I open a potassium, it's gonna be only leaving the cells. And if you remember, that's why we did need a sodium potassium ATPase pump to keep a high potassium concentration inside the cell and to keep a high sodium concentration outside of the cell. All right?
But at what rate does the calcium comes in the cell?
So the calcium has different channels that we're not that much concerned with when we explain the heart rate. Because this is a constant period. It has to be kept the same. We're not modifying this phase. We're modifying this phase and here. Where are you starting? Are you starting in here? Are you starting in here? Or are you starting down in here? This is what we're trying to modify in here under the effect of sympathetic and parasympathetic. We're not playing with those ones. Alright? At least at our level. Alright? We can have a break for, before the break. I want you to know something here on the left part. So what do you think? This is my biggest node carrying parasympathetic innervation. It goes to the ST node and the AV node. Compared to the sympathetic, here, it goes to the ST node, AV node, and Purkinje fibers. Why we don't have a parasympathetic innervation to the Purkinje fibers? So we do have sympathetic innervation for all the three parts of the heart that would have automaticity to speed them up. But for the parasympathetic, it's only going to be innervating my ST node and my AV node and not the Purkinje fiber. Why do you think?
Because they control the Purkinje fibers.
You see here, no parasympathetic is going to Purkinje fiber. Again, what is the function of the parasympathetic? Is to slow down.
The Purkinje fibers are in this mode, so she knows.
Exactly. It is too slow already. What is the rate of depolarization in my Purkinje fibers? 30 depolarization per minute. And this will allow me to be kept in an ICU. Right? You cannot go below this number. Alright, so there is no way I will need to have a heart rate lower than 30 beats per minute. We don't have this option. If I'm using Purkinje fibers, I'm not able to cover. I'm in a course. Alright? we can have a 10-minute break, we come back, discuss the cardiac cycle and the ATG.
Everything is on the computer now. Apparently we can't use it.
Oh, yeah, I saw.
Apparently, I don't know, can't use our computer no more.
We just can't during class. For your phone, that's really nice.
I can't remember where they're like. I get so many of them to review from different companies that I lose track. I have so many of
Do
them.
you know what they're called? What are they, like phone tripods?
Oh, yeah, it's just like a little phone tripod. I think you can find.
Open source apps that be loaded through the website. Now, yeah, but this is much more advanced term.
Yes, okay. That means that is until the carrier is
Yeah, mastering MP, all the same, all have the same concept, but I've chosen this one because it has much more better graphics. Like, that students would like more than the other. Yeah. Once you download it, all the information, does it require? So they have I'm not sure how much they sell for. This is, yeah, I'm not sure what those receipts are, what the company would be asking them to pay for. So it's gonna be for $50 if you purchase just the courseware without the applications, I believe. So if you go and register online, this is how it's gonna look like. Yeah, this one I will do. I'm not sure. To be honest. I just decided to use the app and contact the company to send it for you on here, for you to use your financial aid rather than to pay it out of pocket, to use your financial aid for the purchase. Alright? If you're not using financial aid to buy from the bookstore, you can get it through their website if you're paying by credit card. Alright? I did request them to send it to the bookstore for you to be able to use your financial aid.
So when we purchase that one,
I'm not sure what it's gonna get me to.
so like the assignments might not be.
Yeah, it will be on here.
Okay, so,
Yeah, it gives 2 weeks trial as well.
I just wanna make sure it's not the assignments.
Yeah, it's gonna get this. But again, I will go through the whole process with you next time.
So that app is tablet required when you download it on a phone.
Any tablet or
You can download it on your phone, but it says it on your tablet as well.
okay. Any web browser, any device as a web browser. Alright, why is it so complicated?
The first day, yeah, you said it was the first day.
Alright, so forget about it, I will go over it next time.
You can only use it on one device, and I'm like, okay.
Big PowerPoint.
Alright. It's gonna be fine. Alright, so back to the heart, back to the heart. Alright. Alright, this is the actual potential of how many cells? Of one cell. These are the electrical changes taking place in one cell of the heart. This is my action potential. If I decided to record all the electrical changes taking place in my heart, how is this gonna look like? So if I'm recording the electrical changes of the heart, so first thing that's gonna be recorded is the electrical impulses that will be reaching both atria at the same time. Alright? And this will appear as a P wave. Alright? So once I get the electrical impulses reaching my atria, what is the first part of the electrical impulses? It's going to be depolarization. So you're going to be depolarizing first your atria. Atrial depolarization is going to be recorded on the EKG, and EKG stands for electrocardiography, graph means to draw, electro means electricity, and cardio is heart. So this is a drawing of the electricity of the heart. Alright? So first thing to be recorded is going to be depolarization of my atrium, which can be recorded as P wave. This is my atrial depolarization. What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Electrical impulses going to be delayed passing through my AV node, right?
Yeah.
And then they will pass down to the apex, and then they will depolarize my ventricle. So now, what I will get after atrial depolarization, you're going to have some delay. So what is this line? This line is marking the passage of electrical impulses through my AV node. This is my delay. And as the electrical impulse will reach my ventricles, and once they reach the ventricles, they will cause ventricular depolarization. My ventricles will depolarize. And as my ventricles depolarize, you're going to be, this depolarization will be recorded as a QRS complex. So QRS is representing ventricular depolarization. And then what's going to happen when after you depolarize, you're going to do what? After you depolarize, you're going to plateau is part of what?
Like
You're going back, you're going more to be more negative or more positive.
negative.
You're going to be more negative. This is what we call repolarization. I told you that we're going to have a plateau phase to increase the time for repolarization. So what you're going to have after you depolarize, you're going to repolarize. So what's going to be recorded next is going to be ventricular repolarization. So am I missing something here? So we've seen P wave. This is the first recorded wave. This is my atrial depolarization. And then what's going to be recorded next? QRS, which represents ventricular depolarization. And then T wave is representing my ventricular repolarization. Am I missing anything?
What about atrial repolarization?
Exactly. Where is it? Will the atria be kept in a depolarized state? What do you think? What is my atrial repolarization?
Is it when it passes through the AV node?
So every single cell of my atria will need to depolarize and then repolarize. Why the AKG did not record the atrial repolarization? Simply because it's going to be taking place in the same time as my ventricular depolarization. And the machine will be recording the stronger signal.
Oh, okay.
So you see on here. SA node will generate electrical impulses, will travel to my atria. Atrial depolarization recorded as P wave. It's going to take me some time to pass through the AV node. And then as I pass through the AV node, my ventricles will start to be depolarized, which is going to be recorded as QRS. What happens? What happens during ventricular depolarization? Your atria are repolarizing. But which one will have a stronger signal that will be detected by the machine? A thick-walled ventricle or a thin-walled atrium? Thick ventricle will have more cells, will have a stronger electrical signal. And as I have a stronger electrical signal, the AKG will be recording QRS and will neglect atrial repolarization. what happens after you depolarize your ventricles? Your ventricles will repolarize. And the ventricular repolarization is going to be recorded as T wave. Alright? Those are the basic waves on an EKG. So again, another time. You start with atrial depolarization, which is going to be recorded as P wave. Electrical impulse is going to pass down from the atria to the ventricles, and as the ventricles depolarize, the machine will be recording QRS complex, which represents ventricular depolarization. Why I'm not detecting atrial repolarization? Because which one has a stronger electrical signal, your ventricles or your atria? Ventricles. And the machine will be detecting the stronger signal. After you depolarize your ventricles will repolarize. And the ventricular repolarization is going to be recorded as T. Alright? Questions? Alright, so let's see some examples on here. This is my normal sinus rhythm. Normal sinus, so it means I'm following which note? SN. So I have atrial depolarization, then ventricular depolarization. So start P wave, then QRS, and then T wave. So you start here. Let's read. So you start P, QRS, T, P, QRS, T, P, QRS, T, P, QRS, T, P, QRS, T. I have normal rhythm. How did I know that this is a normal rhythm? I don't have arrhythmia. I don't have irregular heart rate. You count the squares between two successive R waves. So let's say here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, the same. So I have a regular heart rhythm. And if I want to count my heart rate through the EKG, you count again the number of squares between two successive R waves. And according to the time you're going to have between two successive beats, you divide by 1 minute. This gives you an idea about how many beats per minute. Right? Don't worry about the calculations. We're going to never be testing you on it.
It's kind of off, but not really. So flatline, right? So
Flatline? Yes.
that just means that just means there's no signal because the heart stopped.
No electrical impulse. No electricity. But it's not something physiological or even possible. Like to have a straight line on an EKG, this is dead. Nobody will have straight line and still be given, unless you try to give him shock, electric shock to the heart, to try to activate a little ZS node to start and depolarize. Alright? Alright, how about this one? Using any major problem? Do you think any problem?
Yeah.
Any abnormality? This is the normal.
This is what she was
So
talking about
what wave
earlier.
am I missing? Am I missing any other waves?
This is what she had
I'm
mentioned
missing
earlier.
P wave. You see here, I have line QRST, line QRST, line QRST. I have no which wave? P wave. And P wave means I am missing which part? I am missing atrial depolarization. I don't have atrial depolarization that appears on the EKG. What else can you see? Like a major difference between this one and this one?
There's a really big
The frequencies
They
are
are
less?
bigger. The frequency
Your QRS is really high.
longer. So you have longer distance between the successive waves, right? So this means what? I have faster heart rate or slower heart rate. It takes me, rather than having a contraction every 2 seconds per minute, so I have 30 beats per minute, let's say. Rather than having 1 second in between my beats, I have 2 seconds. So this means what? If I have 1 second between each 2 beats, this means I have 60 beats per minute. If I have 2 seconds between 2 successive beats, this means I have 30 beats per minute. So, what do you see on here? A slower heart rate or a faster heart rate compared to the normal sinus rhythm? What do you think? Slower heart rate. And how would I figure this out? Count the number of squares you see here. I did have 3. Here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 squares between 2 successive beats. 2 successive odd waves. So it takes me double the time compared to this one. So the heart rate will drop by half. 50%. Alright? So what might cause this problem? I'm not saying a P wave, I have slower heart rate. Remember. Normally, what's going to happen? SA node generates electrical impulses that will travel to my atria, causing atrial depolarization, which is going to be recorded as P wave. And then the electrical impulse is going to pass through my AV node with some time delay in here. And then as I reach my ventricles, this will cause depolarization of my ventricles. That will be recorded by the AKG as QRS complex. So atrial depolarization and then ventricular depolarization, like this. After I depolarize my ventricles will repolarize. And this will be recorded as T wave. So we have P, QRS, T. Alright? So here, what's going to happen next? You're going to have another B, P, QRS, T, like this. What if my SA node is not functioning? Who will take over? AV node. So let's see what's going to happen. So now, AV node is creating the electrical impulse. So it's going to be creating the electrical impulse to go to my atria and to go to my ventricles at the same time. Right? Because I have the barrier between the atria and the ventricles, so once I create an electrical impulse, it travels to the atria and to the ventricles at the same time. The machine will record only the ventricular one. Why? Because it has a stronger signal. So, will I have any P wave? No, it will not be recorded because it's taking place during ventricular depolarization. And then I will have ventricular repolarization recorded as T wave, and I still won't see an atrial repolarization because it has a much weaker signal compared to the ventricular repolarization. Alright? So I'm missing P wave, but which one is faster? SA node or AV node? This has 75 and this has 50. So I will have a slower heart rate. So QRS T, I have a much slower heart rate, and this is what we're gonna call the junctional rhythm. The rhythm is created from the junction between the atria and the ventricles, not from the SA nerve. All right? Questions?
You said the junction rhythm was different.
It runs between 40 to 60 on average 50 beats. You're following the AV note. Again, those are variable because they will be affected by the sympathetic and parasympathetic. Either you slow it down, or you make it fast. All right?
That's what you call, you said earlier, myocardial infarction. Myocardial infarction, that's what you said earlier?
If I've got a myocardial infarction affecting this part, SA node, but not every single myocardial infarction will result in this.
Would that be, if you looking at EKG, would that be a sign to look for?
A sign to look for. This will tell you that the SA node is not functioning, but it will not tell you what is the exact reason behind it. There is other markers on EKG for myocardial infarction, other for angina and so on. But this is not something that we're going to be discussing. Not a prognosis. This is actually an actual disease. We're not guessing.
How would you recognize a heart murmur? Would you be able to recognize a heart murmur from that?
A murmur.
A murmur.
A murmur?
The murmur, heart murmur. Yeah.
A murmur is a sound. This is electricity.
Okay. You wouldn't be able to detect it from a distance.
No, this is electrical changes. Those are electrical changes on an EKG.
All right.
But I might have a problem which will manifest by electrical changes in the same time by sounds.
Okay.
This is according to the disease itself. So I might have a myocardial infarction. So I have a problem in my electrical activity. I will have abnormal EKG in the same time. It's gonna be rupturing the attachment of the valves, which will cause a murmur. So I might have both in the same time, but you cannot detect a murmur by EKG. EKG is drawing the electrical changes that take place inside the heart. Murmur is a sound.
I wasn't sure if it affected the electrical aspect.
How do you relate them? Sometimes they will overlap in some diseases, but they don't. You're not gonna be identifying a murmur from an EKG. Question?
So when you're applying the 3 bipolar leads, if you're applying an EKG, would you typically just do those across the chest?
It's the 3 main ones, yes, and there is limb leads as well.
Yeah.
But don't worry about how we put it on and stuff like this. This is not something that we're gonna focus on. All right, we're not studying EKG. EKG, you might be taking a course for a year to get a good understanding of the EKG. We are just mentioning a very brief introduction about it. All right, we won't get into the details. This is the EKG for what lead and what defects. Not all the defects will show on every single lead, and according to the leads that will be affected, we're going to be able to identify the site of the problem and so on. It's going to be a huge topic to discuss or to learn later on, and nobody will be getting intensive EKG courses except if you are, for example, a cardiology resident or something.
These here, they vary. Does it vary like blood pressure measuring? Like a patient will come in and one day have normal rhythm, and then something happen and come back, oh, it's junctional rhythm. And then it can pop back to normal sensitivity, or no?
Nothing I can think of it. It's not related to the blood pressure.
Okay. No, I'm just asking, do they vary?
Can you shift from one to the other? No.
Okay.
Most likely not.
Okay.
Right? It's gonna be most likely it's gonna be a permanent defect unless it's treated early.
Okay.
It might be some temporary problem if we were able, so if it was an angina and affecting CS node and we did revascularize, getting the blood back to the site, it will return back, but it will not be moving back and forth between sinus rhythm and junctional rhythm on its own. Alright? Alright, so moving on to what if I have a block here? What is going to be my problem? My problem is that not every atrial depolarization is going to be followed by ventricular depolarization. You see on here, I've got P wave and then line. Nothing did pass here to my ventricles. I have a straight line on here. And then I've got another P wave. And then this time the electrical impulse was able to pass through the AV node. So you've got QRS. And then another P is a line. So it did not pass to the ventricles. And then another P is a QRS. So this time it was capable to pass through the AV node. Alright, this is what we're going to call a heart block. This is a special type of heart block. It's called the second degree heart block 2 to 1. So for every 2 atrial depolarizations, you're going to have 1 ventricular depolarization. Alright, this is a regular heart block. What makes me say that this is a heart block is that not every atrial depolarization is going to be followed by ventricular depolarization. All right. Sometimes I would have complete block, and if I have a complete block, what's going to happen? The atria will be contracting on their own, following the SA node, and the ventricles will be contracting on their own, following the Purkinje fibers. If I have a complete block, but this is not a complete block. Here I'm allowing 1 electrical impulse to pass each 2 atrial depolarizations. So it's regular. So 2 to 1, 2 to 1. Every 2 atrial depolarizations is going to be followed by 1 ventricular depolarization. This is a second degree heart. All this one. What can you see on here? On the AKG?
Chaos.
Exactly. Right, I see QRSs, which are drawn, and it's so fast. It is so fast. QRSs are so fast. They are irregular. They have irregular shapes. They have irregular risks, amplitudes, everything. This is ventricular fibrillation. My heart is fibrillating. I'm not able to perform a complete contraction. This person needs a cardioconverter. A person cannot live with ventricular fibrillation. All right? Don't worry about writing anything now at all. Just focus on it. All right, so remember what is the sequence of events? What is the sequence of events? You have first electrical changes. Following the electrical changes, you're going to have mechanical changes. And according to the mechanical change that will take place, you're going to be moving the blood. So first you start with depolarization or repolarization. Then you're going to be getting, as a result, either contraction or a relaxation. and according to the contraction or relaxation you're going to be performing, you're going to be moving the blood in or out of the chamber. So let's follow this rule on here. So you start with what? Wave will be, what is the first wave that's going to be recorded on your EKG? It's going to be my P wave, which represents atrial depolarization. When you depolarize, you contract. When I depolarize, I will contract. So you see on here, what follows atrial depolarization is going to be atrial contraction. And when I contract my atria, what's going to happen? Blood flows from the atria to my ventricles. Why will it move? Can you remind me?
Pressure.
Because it tries to move from high pressure to lower pressure. But actually, this is only 20 to 30% of the blood moves due to atrial contraction. Only 20 to 30%. We're going to see how the main part of the blood is going to be moving. So 20 to 30% only of the blood going to be moving under the effect of the atrial contraction. So my atria, once they contract, they will squeeze the remaining 20% of the blood down to the ventricles. What's going to be recorded next on the EKG is going to be my QRS, which represents what?
Ventricular defibrillation.
Depolarization. When you depolarize, you're gonna contract. So now my ventricles will start to contract, and once I start to contract, what's gonna happen? I'm increasing the tension of the wall of the ventricles, and as a result, what's gonna happen to the pressure inside? When you contract, you increase the pressure or decrease the pressure inside. When you contract,
increase.
And when I increase pressure, blood is trying to move in or out? Out. So I'm trying to move from high pressure to
low pressure.
And where do you have low pressure? In your atria and in your aorta and
pulmonary trunk.
So my blood now is trying to move from high pressure to low pressure, and we have two sides where I have low pressure, either the atria or my pulmonary trunk and aorta, my vessels. So which one will I pick? Remember, according to what will I choose to path in the vessels, not back to the atria, according to the direction of the leaflets of my valves. Remember, AV valves, tricuspid and bicuspid valve, mitral valve. When you push up, the valve will close. And semilunar valves, when you push up, the valves will open. So here, when we look here, in the ventricles, during ventricular contraction, you're going to squeeze the ventricles. Blood is trying to move to a lower pressure. So you're going to close your, what valve?
The atrium.
Tricuspid and mitral valve. My AV valves will close. But I did not reach a pressure high enough to open my semilunar valves. So is the blood moving?
No.
No, not yet. At this part of the cycle, the blood is kept inside the ventricles. It's not moving out yet. And as I'm not moving the blood, will there be any change in the volume of the ventricles? If nothing is moving from inside, I'm compressing. So if I'm compressing here, am I applying tension? Yes. Is the volume inside changing? No. Is the volume inside changing? I'm applying pressure, right? Is the volume inside is changing? No. So the volume is not changing yet. Why? Because simply you didn't reach a pressure high enough. I didn't apply pressure high enough to compress it. So I didn't reach a pressure high enough to open my semilunar valves. Remember, when you push up in the semilunar valves will open. All right? So we're going to call this phase in which the blood is not moving in or out. This is an iso or volumetric contraction phase. Iso means it's the same. It's constant. So I have a constant volume during contraction. What this means? You didn't close AV valves. You didn't open semilunar valves yet. As I keep increasing the tension here in the wall of my ventricles, what's going to happen? Increasing tension, you're going to be increasing the pressure. I will reach a pressure now high enough to open my semilunar valves. So semilunar valves, getting pressure, high pressure from below, so they will open. Semilunar valves once open, what's going to happen to the blood? The blood is going to be moving out to my pulmonary trunk and my aorta. Pulmonary trunk and aorta will get the blood, and this is what we're going to call my ejection phase. Blood will be ejected out of the ventricles. All right? What's going to be recorded next? After you depolarize your ventricles, you're going to be repolarizing the ventricles. T wave will be recorded. And when you repolarize, you relax. When I relax, what's going to happen to the size? You're reducing the tension. And as you reduce the tension, what's going to happen to the pressure inside? It drops. So semilunar valves are located like this. So the blood is trying to move from your vessels, from the pulmonary trunk and the aorta back into your ventricles, right? Because you do have blood in here, but you don't have in here. So blood is trying to move from high pressure to low pressure. So if the blood is trying to go backwards into my ventricles, what's going to happen to the semilunar valves? They will close. And as you close semilunar valves, see on here, the blood will be prevented from going backwards to the ventricles. But I did not reach a tension low enough to create a low pressure within my ventricles to open my AV valve. So I was relaxing to the extent to close semilunar, but I did not reach a pressure low enough to open AV valves. See what happened in here? You closed semilunar, you didn't open yet AV valve. Is there any blood moving in or out of my ventricles?
No.
No. So if no blood movement, am I having any change in the volume of the ventricles?
No.
No. If no change in the volume, this is a constant volume during relaxation. So what do you think I will name this phase? It's an iso volumetric relaxation phase. Constant volume during relaxation. As I keep relaxing, reducing the tension of the wall, I will reduce the pressure inside the ventricle to create a pressure difference high enough to open my AV valves. And this low pressure within the ventricles is a pressure that will be responsible to allow 70 to 80% of the blood to move into your ventricles. So a person can live with atrial fibrillation without having any effective contraction of my atrium. I can still survive. Why? Because I don't rely on atrial contraction to get the blood down to the ventricles. Most of the blood moves down due to the negative pressure created by the ventricular relaxation, not due to the atrial contraction. When we do the dissection, you will see that the atrium has a very delicate membrane, very delicate wall compared to the ventricle. Now, ventricle will have lots of muscles. All right. So you see on here, most of the blood going to be moving down due to ventricular relaxation. So we're going to call this phase my ventricular filling phase. So again, what we mentioned so far, we start by, what is the first wave that will be recorded on the EKG? P wave, which means atrial depolarization. And what follows depolarization? It's going to be followed by contraction. So you're going to squeeze the remaining 20% of the blood down from the atrium to the ventricles. Atrial contraction phase. What's going to be recorded next after P wave? QRS. QRS. Ventricular depolarization. When you depolarize, you're going to contract. And when you contract, you start to increase the tension of the wall of the ventricles. And as you increase tension of the wall of the ventricle, what's going to happen? You increase the pressure inside, which will allow you to close AV valve. I didn't open yet semilunar. We'll close this part. Before I open semilunar valves, it's going to be isovolumetric contraction phase because there is no change in volume. As I keep increasing the tension of the wall of the ventricles, I will reach a pressure high enough to open semilunar valves. So the blood is going to be moving out in my aorta and pulmonary trunk. So this is my ejection phase, ventricular ejection. You're ejecting the blood out. What's going to be recorded as the QRS is going to be my T wave. T wave represents ventricular repolarize. And when you repolarize, you relax. And when I relax here, I am reducing the tension of the wall, I am reducing the pressure inside. This reduction in my pressure of the ventricles will allow me to close semilunar, but it's not low enough to open AV valves. As I keep reducing the tension of the wall of my ventricles, I will reach a pressure low enough now to open my AV valves. And now, 80% of the blood going to be moving down from my atria to my ventricles. All right? What is the heart beats? So what do I hear?
The blood flow.
Boom, 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 boom. Do I hear the muscle contraction?
No.
Do I hear the blood flow rubbing in the ventricle, for example, or in my artery? Or do I hear the electrical impulse passing through the AV node? AV bundle? What do you hear? Boom, boom, boom,
Valves.
boom,
Valves
boom,
closing.
boom, boom. Contraction? What do you think? Muscle contraction? So if I'm contracting my biceps, can I hear my biceps?
But you can hear the valves closing.
Valve closure. Valve closure. So the only thing that you normally hear, valve closure. Normally I hear closure of my valves. So I will have lumped up sound, lumped up, lumped up, lumped up, lumped up, lumped up. This will be first and second heart sound. First, second, first, second, first, second. What is the first heart sound? We did agree that the first heart sound that will be taking place in the cardiac cycle is going to be the closure of AV valves. Closure of the AV valves, this is my first heart sound. And the second heart sound is going to be closure of my semilunar valves. So you're going to close AV valves, this is first heart sound. You close Semilunar valves, this will be second heart sound. So this will produce la. Alright? So how would you be able to tell which one is the first, which one is the second? What you hear is which one is first, which one is second?
The delay. The delay, second half pressure.
Would you be able to tell? There's a
No.
delay.
What I'm saying.
Alright, so you tell me whenever you hear first, you say first. Whenever you hear second, you say second. Right? Or it's not second, first, second, first, second.
Second one sounds like it's dry. It's like a higher. Isn't it? One, two.
Second, first, second, first.
Which one is first?
Second, because we can't say it.
Alright, so you have a patient, you have a stethoscope.
Maybe the second one is like.
And for next time, tell me, how would you be able to differentiate between first and second heart sounds? There is no way you can just do it by listening to the sound, alright?
Don't let pain control your life. It's time to Parties of America.
Don't let pain control your life. Alright, so next time, think of it, try to find a way, and I would highly recommend you to start reading through the chapter. We're almost done with chapter 18 part, and also start working on the Q-banks to prepare for your upcoming exam. On your way out, please print your name and sign the date of the exam.
When is our first assignment?
They had
Yeah, printed them out.
The way I did think of it, it's gonna be very expensive to do so as soon as they have it under the so for them to use financial aid. But if you're not paying it through financial aid, it's gonna be better to buy online. If you're not getting
It's not like that, it's not.
through financial aid, wait until you get it through from the website.
Yeah, different version, older version.
Next Tuesday, I will go through it, I will show you how to do it, how to register, we'll open up the first